Karen Van Dyke, and I am with Senior Care by Design. We founded the company back 9 years ago, and it was founded because of an experience that I had with my own family. And we help seniors find living situations for their loved ones when they can no longer live at home. But my situation was visiting with my sister. She was in the hospital. The social worker walked up to me and said, here are 2 sheets of paper. They had lists of all these different communities and assisted living and memory care. And we were in the middle of a Boston blizzard. And she said, sister, your sister can't stay here any longer. You need to go find her a place. So it was in that moment that the seed for my company was planted. And it was about 6 months later that I actually started the company. So I came back to San Diego, left my 6-figure salary banking job and said, woohoo, here we go, not knowing really what I was doing. But here I am 9 years later, really focused on my elders and making sure that families really experience this with grace and ease as much as possible, because it can get very chaotic. And usually one of the first questions I'm asked by a daughter or a son calling me is, do I have to put mom in one of those places? And of course, they're talking about those places are skilled nursing, because that's what all of our grandmothers and grandfathers went to. Not all of them, but many of them went to way back in the day. Today, it's a very different landscape. I mean, assisted living, it's really moving into a community, not a medical model, but a social model. So we're moving into communities that continue these folks and their lives to thrive, because that's what we're really looking for. We're all looking for that. We're all looking to thrive until the last breath we breathe. And that is the key.
We're all about helping our elders live life to the fullest, regardless of where they may be, where they physically reside, or what some of their limitations may be. And we do this through virtual reality. So I'm the founder of Viva Vita. I started working on the idea a couple of years ago, but we were founded last year. And we deliver virtual reality to retirement communities so that the seniors that reside in these places um, just can continue to live life, can continue to travel and explore the world. And so that the communities themselves can have diversified programming to, again, enrich quality of life for their residents and for prospective residents as well. Um, Other than that, a little bit about myself and how I started. The idea for Viva Vita came about when I was in college at George Washington University. I studied business and psychology there. So I started to learn about a lot of the challenges that our elders face. And what was really startling to me is that it's all kind of just accepted, or it has been up until this point. And to your point too, Karen, about things are really changing, which is very positive. But for the most part, the generations that came before us have been sort of suffering in silence. There's a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety that goes untalked about and untreated. And after I learned some of the science and, for my textbook about this, I then, I have a close relationship with my grandmother, and I began to see some of these signs present in her, which was really worrisome. So virtual reality has been a great tool, and I set my granny up with her own VR headset, and now we're focused on delivering this to the millions of seniors that live in our country.
Hello, my name is Kimball Wilson, and I am an artist. I'm the creator, founder of Ani's Art. We provide subscription art boxes to older adults, and these include materials for creating different projects that are delivered every other month right to the doorstep. There are also online tutorials to guide individuals step by step through the process of creating their own art. But besides the materials and the instructions, it's our vision to also provide a sense of purpose through these activities, through these focused activities. And having something to work towards is so important, is key to longevity, as we all know. So creating art in and of itself, that process is what we really want to encourage, to bring joy to the seniors, to the older adults. And then in addition to that, there is a whole community and a sharing aspect to Ani's Art. So the activities themselves could be anything from postcards, greeting cards, something that you would want to share with someone, whether that is a gift or it's actually a photo that you put up online. So there's the sharing aspect and then the community as well. So we are creating an online community for people to connect all around art. So it's anything from their work in progress, questions that they have, maybe beautiful art that they've seen, and they can all connect and discuss, ask questions, and make new friends. So for Ani's art, it's really about, like I said, creating that purpose, having fun, and connecting with others all around making art. The name Ani's art comes from my grandmother. Her name was Ani, and it's really a tribute to her and the inspiration that she had on me as I was a young artist. I've had feedback from participants, just the way that they've connected with their children and with their grandchildren over creating together has just been amazing. When I initially set out, it was just going to be something for older adults to do individually, especially during the pandemic when we are struggling with social isolation. But then I realized that this is something that they can connect with other family members, other friends, and loved ones to create together, whether it's over Zoom or in person.
I'm Amy Abrams, and I am currently the Director of Education with Alzheimer's San Diego. My career has been in geriatric social work specifically. It's been about, 20 years this year. So I started in medical case management. And then in 2004, I co-founded a professional geriatric care management and in-home care company here in San Diego County, which I ran for about 11 years. I left that business in 2015 to join the staff at Alzheimer's San Diego. So we are a local nonprofit organization here in San Diego County, serving anyone who lives in the county or cares about someone who lives in San Diego County who's living with Alzheimer's disease or any other type of progressive dementia, diagnosed or not. I plan on being an old person myself someday, and I hope that it will be a good experience for me. I hope it will be a better experience than it is today for older adults in the United States.
My business is Seniors Helping Seniors, and we started in memory of my grandfather who had Alzheimer's disease, and he was independent and, living in his own home and managing his activities of daily living just fine. But he could not go and golf anymore. He couldn't drive himself to the golf course or golf, driving range. And he needed, someone to go through the holes with him just for safety reasons. And so we found a caregiver who was a senior who could accompany him on the golf course in his, later years. And he actually played golf until he died. And we just really liked that concept of having an older caregiver support him either on the golf course or going out to lunch afterwards, or just sitting and watching TV with him if that's, what he wanted to do that day. And so we started Seniors Helping Seniors, which is a franchise, but we started Seniors Helping Seniors with the concept that we could hire seniors to be caregivers for other seniors. And so that's what we've done since 2013, is when we started. I like to share that my oldest caregiver is 83 years old, and she is wonderful. She's probably stronger than me. She's been working for 5 years for the same couple. The wife recently passed away at home, and that was her wish. And my caregiver is still caring for her husband. And so it's just a wonderful partnership that we provide for the senior who wants to work in their retirement and the senior who needs to receive care to continue to live, safely at home. So right now we probably support about 60 clients in the San Diego area, and I have roughly the same number of caregivers working in homes in San Diego.
Let's talk about where we are right now. End of 2020, it's been a heck of a year for all of us, but especially for seniors and for all of you amazing women who are, building communities and businesses and supporting seniors. What have you seen this year? What's happening out there? And I know you're all working hard to fix it, and we'll get to that part, but what have been the biggest challenges for seniors in 2020?
I think the biggest challenge for elders, especially living at home, and having only like one person caring for them or a couple of caregivers, is the isolation of that. The same is holds true in a community, in an assisted living or memory care. And when we initially started with this virus, no one knew what they were doing, and especially in the assisted living and memory care world, because that's not government funded. That's a private pay situation, which means that all of those folks who run these places, the administrators, were on their own. So they had to figure out things really fast. And one of the things they were figuring out as they watched is that as they isolated their residents, the residents were doing worse and worse. And so it became real clear to them that they had to refigure how they were doing things, because it was either COVID at their doorstep or isolation at their doorstep, and one they could control, the other they couldn't. So the isolation, seniors, elders have always been isolated. That's not like new, but this is severe. This is totally severe. So all of us are isolated too, but now we have that window into isolation of an elder and how that affects all of us, actually. So that's been the really big part of this year, that the isolation of our seniors, and kind of pulling back the curtain on skilled nursing and seeing what's going on there. And we've got a lot of work to do. The beauty of all of that is that we now see it. I mean, everybody has already spoken about, why they're doing what they're doing, and the focus of, let's give elders a better life. Let's take them out of the warehouse that we've put them in as a culture.
Not that any of us weren't aware that ageism already existed, but the fact that toward the beginning of this pandemic, there was, people openly talking about, well, it's really only old people and sick people that are getting this, as though these were lives that it was okay to just throw away. And we're still seeing that in the debates around, the order and the priority in which people should be getting vaccinated. It really exposed a lot of our really kind of backward thinking about old age itself, I think. So that's one observation. I think in my day-to-day, I have seen caregivers, family caregivers in particular, really struggling around finding support right now. It's always been hard to get families to reach out and ask for help and hire help or make decisions about placement when they need to. There's lots of personal obstacles to do, and financial obstacles for that matter, to doing that. And now we have the added layer of being scared of that in-home care worker coming in and giving you COVID, or the impossibility for a very long time of visiting a care facility and considering it as a placement option. So the pandemic has created even more challenging barriers to caregivers asking for help and receiving help.
We definitely had a dip in new clients right after COVID hit. No one wanted to have any care provider in their home if they could, manage it on their own. So in other words, if the adult children could care for mom and dad on their own, then they didn't want to bring anybody else in. But recently we've had some new clients come on. So I think it is changing, that people are realizing that it can be safe to have care providers come in. And in our unique situation, because I hire seniors, the senior caregivers themselves are also trying to be more careful and obviously not catch COVID for themselves and their own lives. So I have that added benefit, that my caregivers are really trying to protect themselves and their families, and additionally protect their clients from COVID.
Paint us a picture. What is this going to look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now, or hopefully it happens faster than that, but where are we going? How do we better support our seniors in the future?
Well, first and foremost, to Amy's point earlier about ageism, I want to see that piece of our society change as a result of the past few months, of that big exposure of ageism. And yes, I still hear it today, and it's hurtful to hear someone say, "Oh, well, they're probably going to pass away anyway." Well, that could be my grandmother, that could be your grandmother. So I hope that we not only take a moment to notice that, but find a real way to change that moving forward. Um, but besides that, I am certain that we will see more and more technology in this space going forward. I'm not sure what everyone here would say. You've been in this industry a little bit longer than I have, and so just from what I've seen, I've noticed that in the past couple of years, it seems that the industry is a little bit slow moving. It's a little bit hesitant to think outside the box and adopt something new, and that's because who can blame them? They have so much to do there. Oftentimes limited staff at a community, so it can be difficult to do that. But COVID has really forced everyone to look at technology and realize this can work for us. Not only can it work, but it can provide additional benefits. And it's not really as technical, it's not really as expensive. It's easier than I thought it would be. So the industry has shifted, and I don't think there's any going back at this point. And we'll see that with a variety of technologies, from Zoom to telehealth to things like virtual reality.
Older adult services generally has been an incredibly slow industry to innovate. I can remember when I came out of grad school 20 years ago, and assisted living and memory care as it existed then felt so unappealing and so not what I'm going to want. And I fully expected by the time I was middle aged or, potentially an older adult, that I'd have this whole other suite of things to choose from. And 20 years later, nothing has really changed in that world, right? I mean, certainly it innovates a little bit here and there, but it looks pretty much the same. It's been a really slow moving industry, slow changing, I should say, not slow moving. It's been growing rapidly, but slow to change. But man, the pandemic taught everybody how quickly we can change when we need to. And just sort of, it forced people to see their ability to innovate. And I think we're going to see ripple effects of that for years to come. And that'll be a really good thing.
It has absolutely thrilled me to watch the communities come up with creative ways in which to support the residents that live there. Because when you think about it, none of the families can see their loved ones any longer in any of these communities. And so they had to become their family, which meant that they had to come up with ways to really connect with these folks so that they can maintain that quality of life as best they could. But the creativity has been absolutely amazing. I see that as a continuation of what's to come. I also see a sustainability, and there will be those communities, whether they're the small 6-bed in our residential care homes or the large assisted living, they're going because of COVID, they're going to go through a process of, if you didn't have your act together in the first place, you're kind of out of here. So, sustaining that viability isn't going to happen. It's going to be the strong, those communities that really had their finger on the pulse in the first place that are going to sustain and grow. And I see tremendous changes that will be coming in, especially as you shine light on skilled nursing, because that is that bridge, the hospital and then to skilled nursing, and then it's usually to a home, back home, or to a community itself. And it's that skilled nursing that I've seen over and over and over again through my years, not only my personal experience, but all my clients' experience, where there's some significant changes that need to take place. And I think they're going to happen there. So for all of us on this call right now, we have good things to look forward to. So let's just keep making sure that happens.
And then, going on what Carly said about, technology and innovations, I've seen a lot of new technology for our seniors at home, from just, video cameras, so you can quickly check in on a loved one, either in their kitchen or bedroom or living room, to, check for safety reasons, pill dispensers for our seniors that are automated to prevent, overdoses or mismanagement of their medication, and life alert, technology. They've done a lot with that, with GPS tracking on the life alerts, so that you can see if a loved one has left a certain, perimeter, left their home, have wandered, that kind of thing. So I think as the children of our seniors really embrace technology, then it'll get to our older adults, and they'll be better for it and safer for it in the future.
I see art as a tool for the bigger picture, the visions that all of you just shared. And that, digging back actually into my functional medicine training years ago and stuff, it was always talked about how loneliness is one of the leading causes of morbidity and mortality, not only in seniors and older adults, but also in younger communities where we're now just connected through social media. So also removing the actual technological, like the screens, the computers, the phones, and just really connecting with yourself again. And you can do that through, of course, like focused attention on art. And of course, nothing wrong with technology. Obviously, it's keeping us, all of us connected. It's the best we can do right now. But I do think that having something besides a screen is really important. Having that purpose of creation, of sharing, having that community is critical for well-being. And I hope to expand Ani's art. Right now we have a general box. I'm working with an occupational therapist to create something focused more on memory care. And so I hope to expand and be able to influence, or be a tool rather, towards this bigger vision that everybody else has.
The benefits of focused attention and art, and doing something that engages your multiple senses, multiple regions of your brain, that requires fine motor skill, or just practicing your fine motor skill, the benefits to our brain health are legion. And I think that's another sort of area where I do a lot of work, is, the public health side of educating people about the risk of dementia and how to lower it. And for people that are interested in keeping their brains healthy as they age, the benefits of engaging in quiet activity like art is incredibly important.
There's a lot of TV watching in these spaces, and unfortunately that's what my grandmother spends most of her day doing. Is just, so it's not enough to engage or have a new activity, high tech or not, but I think the social aspect of what you're doing too, Kimball, is really a big piece of it, is connecting people socially, but also safely and remotely. So hopefully we'll see those two kind of go hand in hand together as we move forward.
Trisha, you are helping people age at home, right? You're creating that opportunity to bring in support the family, and allow people to age in their home. I know there's a lot of dialogue about that, and the differences in bringing somebody into a facility, whether that's a smaller board and care or a larger situation. I want to see a future where we bring back communes, right? When I think about, for myself, aging, and what does that look like, and where do I live? I want to be in a bunch of tiny houses surrounded by my friends and my community, and have some autonomy, but also bring in support, right? And have a community kitchen where we all can get together and cook for each other and share ideas without, feeling like we're being told what to do. The ultimate entrepreneur here, right? Like always trying to avoid being told what to do. But when I say that, this idea of, a commune, that obviously maybe isn't the right word, but what is that going to look like? And even if it's just pie in the sky, what could it look like?
This is your inner Scandinavian speaking, Felina, because this already exists, and it's widespread in several Scandinavian countries, and it's called co-housing. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I was sort of first coming onto the geriatric social work scene 20 years ago, and I expected to have different options by now. Co-housing was relatively new in the United States then, and I was sure it was going to take off like wildfire. And it just never did. It's been a very, very slow moving movement. I know Karen and I have both been watching it closely with professional interest as well as personal interest for many years. And it's been very slow to take off, but this is an example of sort of what I was talking about, where I think people are gonna just start figuring it out sooner, because the options we currently have are not what we want. Yeah.
Mhm.
This does exist in the United States. There's a few of them in California. There's lots of them in other parts of the country, and there's lots of them in Scandinavia. Yeah.
Yeah, there's Amy and I actually went to a couple of co-housing meetings that was just starting here in San Diego. And there's actually been two groups that formulated over the last 3 to 4 years. Neither of them worked out in terms of progressing to a stage of purchasing land, et cetera. And part of that is that Felina, to your point, it has to be with the right people in the right time in the right place. But the co-housing trend is just booming. It's absolutely booming, and it's different across the board, and it's all across the globe now. So, and the US is one of the fastest growing with the co-housing communities, and it is absolutely the way that I want to live. And I'm the one that's out there with all of these communities, whether they're, Wesley Palms, buy-ins, they're all great, but it's not the way that I want to live, and so creating that. So it truly is all of these folks on this Zoom call right now getting together and making that happen. It's grassroots. It's absolutely grassroots, organic. But there are folks out there now who have been doing it for so long. Kathy Durrott and Chuck Durrott, they have been doing it for maybe 20, 30 years now. They've written books on it, how to do it. They come in and they do workshops. So I would say and agree 100% with Amy that this is the way of the future. This is the area that this generation will be moving forward.
I would love to see an end to age segregated housing, or at least, just a broadening of the options. I think that's something that is unappealing about about the whole idea of living in residential care to a lot of people. I'd love to see. It's cool to see in the construction world, we're starting to see more accessory dwelling units being built, families deciding to live multi-generationally. I'd love to see more of that and make it, that we have the infrastructure to make that easier for people. But also co-housing, or even if it's assisted living, broadening it so that different generations of people can live together, I think would be healthier for everybody. Think about, older people doing art, older people doing VR activities. You got to have younger people around to help them with those things, right? And it's unfortunate that they're not already just right there, right next door, living amongst each other.
It's beneficial for across the board. It's beneficial for the younger generation and for the older generation as well to be living in a mixed community like that. So that's definitely how I want to retire. And when I first learned about this a couple of years ago, I learned about a few creative senior living options from this book, Old Age and a New Age. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one, or maybe you've heard of it, but I was so surprised that we don't see more of this. And I was like, Granny, this is where you need to live. You need to live in a place like this. So I'm not sure what needs to change exactly. And you all would probably have more insight into that than I would. How do we grow this? I'm not sure if it's something with the incentives and what retirement communities today are incentivized to do and how they typically structure themselves, if what it takes is for people to be selfish, then instead of thinking about let's create a better place for our seniors, yeah, think about yourself. Like, let's do it now, because eventually, probably before we all realize it, we'll have to make our own arrangements, and we want to have a lot of great options by that point.
Mhm.
I know I do. I'm right
Mhm.
there with you guys.
But it's about policy, healthcare policy. It's about training within these communities, and it's about culture shift away from ageism. Those 3 points, if we dig into those 3 points, we're going to change the trajectory that we're in now, and we're going to create a much better living opportunity for all of us as we get to that point in our lives.